You can be surrounded by people and still feel unbearably alone, but you can also sit in silence and feel completely whole. Have you ever felt that kind of emptiness? The one that lingers not because no one is around, but because you've lost your connection to yourself? It's a feeling many people over 60 know too well. The house grows quieter, the days feel longer, and even with calls, visits, or messages, something feels missing. In our culture, loneliness is seen as a failure, a sign of being left behind. But in Buddhist wisdom, solitude is a sacred invitation, an invitation to listen, to heal, to come home to your own heart. The Buddha once said, "He who sits alone, lies alone, walks alone, tames himself," not because he is unloved, but because the deepest truths can only be heard in silence. In today's video, we'll gently explore why we fear solitude and how to reframe it. The hidden blessings found in being alone. A daily practice that transforms silence into peace. This isn't about escaping life. It's about finally meeting it with presence. So before we go further, pause for a moment, breathe, and ask gently, when was the last time I truly sat with myself? Now let's look at why loneliness cuts so deep and what lies beneath it. 1. The root of loneliness, mistaking emptiness for lack. There's a silence that soothes and a silence that stings. Most people only know the second kind. We often think loneliness comes from being alone, but that's not quite true. Loneliness comes from a deeper wound. The wound of disconnection, not from others, but from your inner life. Many people over 60 feel this ache, even if their days are filled with activity, even if their loved ones check in. There's a hollow place that whispers, "I'm no longer needed. I don't belong. I don't matter." That whisper is not your truth. It's just the echo of a mind that forgot how to return inward. Let me offer you a gentle image. Imagine a cup. When it's empty, most of us rush to fill it with noise, with people, with distractions. But in Zen practice, the empty cup is a blessing. It means there is space, space to receive, space to reflect, space for light to enter. You see, emptiness is not a lack. It's a quiet invitation, an opening for meaning to come in. But why does it feel so painful? Because when the external world slows down, the inner voices get louder. Those voices might say, "You're not important anymore. You have no purpose. You're fading." These thoughts aren't truths. They're the emotional residue of years spent measuring your worth by what you do, who you care for, or who notices you. But now, in this new chapter of life, you're being called to measure your worth differently, not by your roles, but by your presence. Let that land for a moment. You don't have to be a parent, a spouse, a worker, or a host to be worthy. You simply have to be fully, quietly, compassionately. When you were younger, your life was full of people and things. The busyness felt like proof that you were alive. But now, life is offering you something else. Stillness. Stillness is not emptiness. It is the fullness of being undisturbed. And yet, it can feel overwhelming at first because most of us have never been taught how to sit with ourselves. We were taught to chase goals, to care for others, to achieve, prove, and serve. Rarely were we taught how to simply breathe and be. But here's something quietly miraculous. When you sit with yourself long enough, you begin to notice the presence that always remained. There is an energy inside of you, subtle but powerful. It flows more freely when the outer noise fades. It begins to shape your emotions, your thoughts, and your physical rhythms. It's no coincidence that some people feel physically heavy when they feel emotionally alone, that the body aches when the heart feels unseen. The body listens. It remembers every moment we forget ourselves. But when you return, when you come back to yourself, your body breathes easier. The tightness in your chest loosens. Your mind begins to settle. This is not a fantasy. The quiet, natural restoration happens when you stop running and start resting into who you are. And here's another truth. What you feel inside creates what you see outside. When you dwell on thoughts of abandonment, the world mirrors it. But when you dwell in quiet wholeness, suddenly the air feels softer, the sun feels warmer, strangers seem kinder. Opportunities appear where before there was only fog. That shift doesn't come from the world changing. It comes from you shifting inside. There's an invisible law at play. Whatever you embody radiates, and whatever you radiate returns. That's why loneliness cannot be solved by adding more noise or people. It must be met, felt, and softly transformed from within. So, how do we do that? It begins with a willingness to befriend the silence, not to fill it, not to fear it, but to sit with it, as you would sit with an old friend. Can you take a moment today, just one, to sit in a quiet place, close your eyes and ask, what does my heart need from me? Not from anyone else, just from you. You may be surprised by the answers. Sometimes the heart asks for rest, sometimes for gentleness, sometimes for a simple whispered truth. You are not alone. I am here with you. When you begin speaking to yourself this way, your entire relationship with aloneness begins to shift. And as it shifts, so does your energy. And as your energy shifts, so does your life. Now that we've uncovered the hidden root of loneliness, let's walk with the Buddha into the forest and discover how he turns solitude into awakening. 2. The Buddha's journey from palace to solitude. To understand the power of solitude, we must walk alongside someone who has lived their truth completely. Before he was the Buddha, he was Siddhartha, a prince born into comfort, luxury, and admiration. His world was filled with music, feasts, servants, and the softest silks. Every need was answered before he even felt it. And yet somewhere within that golden cage, a quiet discomfort began to stir. He saw glimpses of aging, sickness, and death, not just as facts of life, but as reflections of something he could no longer ignore. The impermanence of everything he had once held dear. The more he looked at the world through this lens, the more he realized how fleeting pleasure was, how temporary admiration was, how empty even the most perfect life could feel when one's soul remains unexplored. So he did the unthinkable. He left. He stepped away from everything, the titles, the comfort, even the love of his wife and newborn son. Not out of rejection, but out of a deeper yearning to know what lies beyond the endless chase of satisfaction. He walked into the forest, not to escape the world, but to face it more honestly. In solitude, he met his mind fully, the storm of desires, the fears, the habits he never knew he had. For 6 long years, he pushed himself into extremes. He practiced harsh asceticism. He starved his body, denied all comfort, tested the edge of pain in the belief that suffering might be the key to liberation. But there came a moment, quiet, clear, when he realized he had only traded one illusion for another. If indulgence numbed the soul, then self-torment only distracted it. Both were extremes. Neither brought peace. So he stopped. He walked to a river. He bathed. He accepted a bowl of food from a stranger, the first nourishment he'd allowed himself in years. And in doing so, he reclaimed something essential. balance. This decision cost him the respect of his companions. The 5 ascetics who had admired his discipline turned away from him, disappointed. They believed he had given up, that he had failed. But what they didn't realize was this: he had just begun. He returned to the forest, now alone truly, and sat beneath the Bodhi tree, not in force, not in desperation, but in stillness. A stillness that came from within, not from discipline, but from clarity. He simply observed his breath, his body, the flickers of thought. He watched it all rise and fall without chasing or resisting. And there, in the silent center of himself, something shifted. The illusion of separateness dissolved, the grasping softened, and the truth became clear that peace is not found through controlling the world, but by releasing our need to. This story is not just history, it is a mirror. Many people after 60 begin to feel like they've lost their place. Roles shift, children move away, work ends, the body changes. There's a temptation to retreat, to isolate not in peace, but in sadness, to believe the best parts of life are behind us. But what if, like the Buddha, this is the beginning of something more? When all the external roles fall away, you are left with something pure: yourself, your presence, your mind, your energy. And this is where true transformation happens, not in noise, but in quiet, not in proving, but in being. There's a deep psychological truth here. When the mind has fewer external demands, it begins to show us what's been buried underneath: unhealed wounds, forgotten dreams, unmet needs. At first, this feels uncomfortable, but discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a signal that you are ready to grow beyond your past self. Energy always responds to attention. What you bring awareness to begins to shift. The thoughts you dwell on become the emotions you embody, and the emotions you embody ripple outward, shaping how others feel around you, how your body functions, and how your world responds. That's why the Buddha didn't become awakened in a palace or a cave, but in that exact moment when he stopped resisting his humanness, when he stopped swinging between extremes and finally settled into the middle, into simplicity, into enough. For those in the later chapters of life, this teaching holds a profound message. You don't need to run. You don't need to prove. You don't need to fix everything. What you need is space to sit beneath your tree, wherever it may be, and come back to yourself. You may not be able to retreat to a forest, but perhaps your quiet morning chair is enough. Perhaps the sound of birds through your window, or the warmth of sunlight on your hands. These are your gateways to presence. Just as the Buddha was abandoned by those who misunderstood his path, you too may feel unseen or forgotten by others. But let that not become your story. Let it become your practice. Let it be the very doorway to wisdom. Because when all is silent and you are fully alone, that is when you are closest to your truth. In the next part, let's gently explore why some people turn solitude into suffering, while others turn it into serenity. What makes the difference? The answer may surprise you. 3. Turning solitude from curse to blessing. There is a saying in Zen, when the mind is quiet, the world becomes gentle. But for many, quietness feels anything but gentle. Solitude, though silent, can be loud. It echoes with memories. It stirs regrets. It brings up the parts of ourselves we've been too busy or too afraid to feel. That is why, for some people, being alone feels like a punishment. Not because of the aloneness itself, but because of the mind we bring into it. It's important to understand that solitude and loneliness are not the same. One is a space, the other is a story. Solitude is the raw space of being. It is the external condition. But loneliness? Loneliness is how we interpret that space. It is the meaning we attach to it. One person might sit by themselves and feel nourished. Another in the same silence might feel forgotten. What makes the difference isn't the room, it's the energy inside us. When you are alone, your inner world becomes amplified. The thoughts you've ignored suddenly grow louder. The emotions you've buried begin to stir. It's like turning down the volume of the outer world, only to realize the inner one has always been humming. This is why some people run from solitude. They fear what they'll hear when the noise stops. But here's the quiet truth. The discomfort you feel isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. Every uneasy thought is just a signal, an invitation to bring kindness where there has been fear, to bring attention where there has been avoidance. When left unobserved, the mind tends to spiral. It repeats old stories. It clings to comparisons. It projects worst-case futures. The longer these loops go unchecked, the more they shape your body, your emotions, and your perception of life itself. You may have noticed this in your own experience. When you dwell on a painful memory, your body tenses, your heart rate changes, your breath becomes shallow. The energy in the room feels heavier. And yet, when you recall something peaceful, perhaps a quiet morning walk, a child's laughter, or a moment of deep presence, your entire being softens. That shift is not imaginary. It's your inner energy in motion, responding to the quality of your attention. And the beautiful thing is, it can be guided. You are not at the mercy of your thoughts. You are their witness and their guide. Solitude gives you this power back, if you learn to stay with it long enough. One simple way to begin is to become aware of your self-talk in moments of silence. Many people unknowingly speak to themselves with harshness. Thoughts like, "I'm useless now," or "no one needs me," often arise without resistance. But just because a thought appears doesn't mean it's true. Most of our thoughts are simply habits, recycled beliefs picked up from years of external conditioning. Imagine a friend coming to you, saying, "I feel unworthy. I feel left behind." Would you scold them, or would you offer comfort? That same compassion must be extended inward. In solitude, you are given the chance to become your companion, to rewrite the way you respond to yourself. This shift in inner relationship creates a subtle but profound change in energy. The heaviness of isolation begins to lift. A sense of calm curiosity begins to take its place. You begin to look inward, not as a victim, but as a seeker. You begin to see solitude not as exile, but as sanctuary. And when your energy changes, so does the world around you. You may find quite mysteriously that you attract different conversations, different moments, different sensations. A kind stranger might strike up a conversation, a long-lost friend might reach out, or perhaps nothing external happens at all, but inside there's a new spaciousness, a warmth where once there was tightness. This isn't a coincidence, it's coherence. When your inner state becomes more peaceful, it resonates. Just like a calm lake reflects light better than a stormy sea, your clarity reflects differently into life. The more you choose peace inside, the more peace finds its way back to you, through people, through timing, through quiet, sacred moments. So how do we turn solitude into a blessing? We begin by shifting our focus. Instead of asking, "Why am I alone?" Try asking, "What is this moment offering me?" Instead of thinking, "I wish someone were here," consider, "Can I be here for myself right now?" Try this simple practice the next time you feel the ache of loneliness rising. 1. Sit somewhere quiet, even for just 5 minutes. 2. Close your eyes, place your hand gently on your chest and take 3 soft breaths. 3. Whisper to yourself, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm enough. It may feel strange at first, but over time, this gentle ritual becomes a lifeline, a way of creating warmth within your own presence. And when you can sit with yourself fully without needing to escape or distract, something remarkable happens. You begin to feel whole again, not because anything has changed outside, but because you have remembered the one person who was always there, you. In the next part, we'll explore a powerful key to deepening this inner peace, having a spiritual aim, a reason to wake up, to breathe, to keep unfolding. Because when solitude is paired with purpose, it becomes not just peaceful, but deeply meaningful. 4. The power of a spiritual goal after 60. When life becomes quieter, it doesn't mean it's over. It means something deeper is beginning. Many people, especially after 60, feel a strange emptiness settle in, not always from loneliness, but from a lack of direction. The routines that once shaped their lives, work, raising a family, caring for others, begin to fade. And with them goes the daily sense of why. The calendar might be full of time, but the heart feels strangely vacant. What gives life meaning isn't how busy we are. It's the sense that we are moving towards something that matters to us deeply. And that something doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It simply has to feel like it belongs to you. In earlier years, goals are often external. Careers to build, children to raise, places to go. But the beauty of growing older is that the search begins to turn inward. The soul, in its wisdom, starts whispering a different kind of longing, not for achievement, but for alignment. Not for applause, but for peace. What once felt urgent now feels unnecessary. What once seemed invisible, like love, truth, compassion, suddenly becomes all that truly matters. This shift is not a loss, it's an evolution, and it signals that you are ready for a different kind of goal. One rooted not in what the world sees, but in what your heart knows. A spiritual goal doesn't need to be religious. It's not about doctrine or belief. It's about remembering that your life has depth and that your presence is part of something vast and interconnected. It's about choosing a direction for your inner life, one that brings you closer to wholeness. Some people choose peace as their aim. Some choose forgiveness. Others choose simplicity, kindness, courage, and clarity. The form doesn't matter. What matters is that it calls you forward, gently but clearly. When you hold a spiritual aim in your heart, even the most ordinary day becomes meaningful. Washing the dishes, taking a walk, sitting with a cup of tea, and these are no longer empty moments. They become part of the practice. You are no longer drifting. You are moving with purpose, even in stillness. This inner alignment also changes the energy you carry. A person with a quiet purpose emits something that others feel, even if they can't name it. There is a steadiness in their presence, a softness in their words, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to convince or compete. And when your energy becomes calm and focused, life responds. You begin to notice subtle alignments, like the right book arriving at the right time, or a stranger saying exactly what your heart needed to hear. These are not accidents. They are the natural reflections of a life in harmony. A spiritual goal is not a task to finish. It's a direction to walk in. You don't need to know exactly how to get there. The path reveals itself one step at a time. What matters is that you begin. Take a quiet moment to ask yourself, what do I want to embody now that I have the freedom to choose? What kind of person do I wish to become in this next season of life? What would make me feel whole, regardless of what others see? These questions are seeds. They don't demand quick answers. Let them rest in you like rainwater in the roots of a tree. The response may come in a dream, a memory, or in a sudden moment of peace while folding laundry. Trust that what you need will rise. One powerful practice is to choose a single word, just one, that represents your spiritual aim for now. It might be clarity, or release, or joy. Let that word live with you for a few weeks. Let it guide how you move, how you speak, how you respond. Let it become a silent companion. Over time, this one word begins to shift your attention. You start to notice opportunities to act in alignment with it. And the more you align, the more grounded and purposeful you feel, even if nothing has changed on the outside. For those who struggle with feeling useless after retirement or invisible as they age, this practice is especially healing. You realize that your value has never been in what you produce, but in the energy you carry, in the quality of your presence, in the peace you bring into the room. These are quiet powers, but they are real, and they are needed in this world more than ever. In the stillness of this life stage, you have a rare gift: time to reflect, space to listen, wisdom to choose more consciously. The invitation is not to retreat, but to deepen, not to give up, but to give in to the truth that has always been calling you. You are not here by accident. Your presence matters. And when you walk with a spiritual aim, no matter how small, it lights a path for others too. In the next part, we'll explore how to ground this purpose in daily life. A simple practice, just 15 minutes a day, that allows your solitude to become not only meaningful, but deeply nourishing. 5. A simple daily ritual to embrace stillness. Sometimes we wait our whole lives for peace without realizing it was waiting for us in the quiet moments we overlooked. It's easy to believe that stillness will arrive only after everything is settled, the house clean, the bills paid, the worries gone. But in truth, stillness is not a reward that comes later. It is a presence that arrives the moment you turn inward, fully, simply, and without resistance. You don't need an elaborate practice. You don't need spiritual credentials. You don't need a meditation cushion, a chanting app, or incense unless they bring you joy. What you need is much simpler: the willingness to be with yourself without needing to fix or perform. Many people carry a silent fear that if they slow down, the buried pain will rise. Old memories, unresolved grief, a feeling of meaninglessness. This is why stillness can feel so intimidating, because the moment you stop moving, you start feeling. But that is also where healing begins. Stillness is not the absence of thought. It is the space where thought softens. It's not about having a quiet mind. It's about having a soft relationship with whatever the mind is doing. So, how do we begin? Start small. 15 minutes a day, not more, not less. Enough to matter, but short enough not to overwhelm. Pick a time when the day is least noisy: early morning, before the world wakes up, or late afternoon when the sun becomes gold and the light turns gentle. If you live with others, let them know this is your sacred quarter hour. No calls, no screens, no interruptions. Sit somewhere where you feel safe and relaxed. It doesn't have to be perfect. A favorite chair by the window, a spot in your garden, even the edge of your bed. What matters is that you sit with intention. Let your hands rest gently in your lap. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Let your breath find its rhythm. There is nothing to control here. This is not a test. It is an invitation. Close your eyes if you'd like, or let them softly gaze at a candle, a plant, or the sky outside. Then quietly bring your attention to your breath, not to change it, but to notice it. The simple in and out, the rise and fall. At first, your thoughts may jump. That's natural. The mind has been running for decades. It will not slow down on command. But you are not here to wrestle the mind. You are here to watch it. Like clouds passing in the sky, let your thoughts drift without chasing them. You are the sky, not the weather. If strong feelings arise, sadness, boredom, restlessness, welcome them as visitors. You don't have to understand them. You don't have to fix them. Just breathe and say inwardly, you are allowed. I am listening. What happens over time is subtle, but profound. The space inside you begins to expand. The grip of fear loosens. The pressure to be doing something softens. And in that softening, your nervous system begins to calm. Your heart rate settles. Your breath deepens. Your entire inner field becomes more spacious, more magnetic, more alive. This gentle energy, peaceful, steady, and grounded, begins to flow outward into the rest of your day. You find yourself speaking slower, with more care, listening more attentively, reacting less, smiling more. There's no effort to it. It flows because you've connected with a deeper current inside yourself. Over time, this 15-minute ritual becomes more than a pause. It becomes your anchor, a place you return to when life becomes noisy, a well you draw from when you feel emotionally dry, a quiet home within you that no one can take away. And something else begins to shift, something quiet but undeniable. As your inner stillness grows, life outside starts to reflect it. You may notice moments of synchronicity, a sudden idea that solves a long-standing problem. A person you were thinking of calls unexpectedly. A small act of kindness arrives exactly when you need it. These are not accidents. They are echoes of your alignment. When you are present, grounded, and calm within yourself, you begin to resonate with experiences that mirror that energy. Life starts to feel more cooperative. Not because everything is perfect, but because your energy is no longer scattered or reactive. You have become a steady presence, and the world responds in kind. That's why this ritual matters so deeply. It's not just a nice habit, it's the practice of becoming your sanctuary. It's a daily return to what's real, to what's quiet, to what heals. And you don't have to be perfect with it. Some days will feel peaceful, others will feel messy, but the practice is not about the outcome. It's about relationship, your relationship with yourself. 15 minutes, that's all. 15 minutes to sit with your breath, with your heart, with your life as it is. Let that be enough. Maybe now you understand. Solitude is not a punishment. It's a portal, a sacred turning point where your life stops looking outward and begins to return home. You've seen how being alone can hurt when it echoes with old fears, but you've also seen how it can heal when it's filled with purpose, softness, and presence. You've walked through the Buddha's path of release. You've learned how to sit with yourself, not in silence, but in stillness. And perhaps most importantly, you've remembered that peace doesn't come from what surrounds you. It rises from what supports you within. This is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a deeper one, a season of wisdom where your energy shapes not only your joy, but becomes a quiet blessing for those around you. So I invite you to take one gentle step today. Create your 15 minutes of sacred stillness, not for anyone else, just for you. And if you've felt seen, soothed, or inspired by this message, please let me know in the comments. I choose stillness. You'll be surprised how many hearts will echo back, reminding you of this one quiet truth. You were never truly alone. If this touched something in you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow along. There are many more quiet paths we'll walk together, step by gentle step.